Hi, folks. Welcome to the fourth episode of the Movember Talks series. We are now getting to the end, meaning we are just starting the last week of this important month. I hope everyone was made aware of what's going on in your lives when it comes to your mental health, physical health. Just look after yourself and your families. That's the main message from these initiatives, and I hope I was able to support some way. There's still a week to go, so I have a great guest today to go through these topics. His name is Lee Evans. He has a podcast himself. He's very huge into this topic, so I think we will benefit from listening to his insights. And I will also ask you again, please, if you know someone who may benefit from these conversations, please share the link with this person. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, and put a like if you enjoy this conversation. Also, I'm collaborating with Movember Ireland, so if you would be able to provide us a donation, like a tenner or something like that, that also helps. Every bit helps in this contest. So without any delays, I'm just going to bring Lee to the stage, but make sure everything is settled here. Hi, Lee. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thanks, you.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. What's the weather like in England?
I'm not English. I knew you were going to ask me that question. I'm not English. I'm Welsh.
Oh, sorry. I know. I hope I didn't piss you off.
No, it's okay. It's cold. It's actually Well, it was snowing the last couple of days. But it's cold and wet and dark as usual.
Mm. Yeah, same here in Ireland. So we got used to after let's say 2 years. I think that's
whereabouts. Where in Ireland are you?
I'm actually on the Irish coast in a place called Bray. So I can see actually the ferries going to Wales on a daily basis. They go to a place called Holyhead.
Yeah, so I live about an hour away from Holyhead. So I live in the North Wales.
Okay, so there's just the sea in between. That's good. Next time I cross the sea, I'll give you a shout.
Yeah, come and see me. Come and see me.
Sure, that would be great. So thanks for taking the time. Yeah, we'll do for sure. Thank you. So tell me, what have you done in this space and in this male, let's say,
yeah,
scope?
So a couple of years ago, I think it was through COVID, actually through lockdown, I sort of shot right down a really depressive environment situation that I put myself in. I had a couple of people that were close to me pass away. I went through a divorce, separation from my children, things like that. So really struggled quite a lot. And over the last 3 years, I joined a men's mental health group, probably 2.5, nearly 3 years ago now. Small knit community, so there was probably 15 to 20 people involved. And I just started to build the tools necessary to start improving my own life at first. There was nothing to do with the podcast. Through my life, I've had depressive stages where I'd drink and drug abuse and suicidal tendencies and things like that. So, these were really beneficial for me to improve on myself, let alone anybody else. And yeah, that's what I started to do. So I just started to grow day by day with my missus, my partner. She helped me a massive amount. Without her, I'd probably be in a very different situation as I am now. And yeah, I had to strip myself back completely and rebuild my life from, I call it brick by brick. So brick one, I had to strip everything back and completely rebuild my life. And it sort of naturally or organically just turned into what I'm doing now with a podcast and me helping men, or it doesn't necessarily have to be men. It can be anybody, anybody who's in that situation that I've been in, I want to help.
Yeah, that's a great duty. I think it's very fulfilling from a personal perspective, that you are able to give a hand to others and make sure that they go on the right path, because you kind of know where it starts, what are the challenges on the way, and how is it going with the podcast itself?
Yeah, it's good. It's tough. As obviously, I've got the online version similar to yourself and what you're doing here, but I do the podcast from my home, just on the kitchen table. Me and whoever, we sit around the table and talk, and it's really difficult because I haven't got a technical brain. So learning how to do the setups with the equipment and the post editing side of it and things like that took me a long time. But yeah, I've got used to it, and don't get me wrong, these conversations that I'm having, I have a lot of them now, but they're really difficult conversations to have, I think. And I've struggled a little bit when I first started the podcast. I struggled a lot in my own mental state, just talking about, depression and suicide and abuse and things like that. They're really, really difficult conversations to have. And there's been many a times where I've thought to myself, I'm going to stop. This is too much. And then I'll get a message of somebody saying, I really, really appreciate what you're doing and the help that you've given me in the podcast. And that gives me the strength to carry on,
Yeah, that's the most important part. I think when you receive tangible feedback, like from an actual person, someone who is struggling, and because they listen to that 30-40 second video, they had a second thought about their lives, and maybe they came up with a different decision, or now they see things from a different angle. So that's so rewarding. Yeah, I totally relate to that. And why do you think that us, like, man, we have this issue to share what's going on with us, with others?
I think because people think that it shows weakness. I think as a man, we want to be this physically imposing, strong, complete human. We look at history and all the warriors, the Spartans, the Greeks, the Romans, Vikings. We think that, like myself, I'm 6'6" and a 22 stone man. I go to the gym, I lift weights, and people think, oh, there's nothing wrong with him. He's fine because he's a big, strong man. When deep down, I'm still a child. I'm still very insecure human being who's got a lot of stuff to work on and fix in my own life. And I always will, just because I'm doing the podcast now doesn't mean that I'm fixed.
Yeah.
I'm still a slightly broken human being who's got a lot of things to work on in life.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Like, people think because you're out there able to speak about things that were at the top of the pinnacle. It's not necessarily like that. Maybe, okay, you are in a better position than you were in the past, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to do those things in public. But doesn't mean that you are sorted forever. And I think it's also a fallacy to think that once you are able to fix yourself or certain parts of you, they are fixed forever. It doesn't work like that, right? There are occasions that things that you fix, they are fucked again.
Yeah. So about 2 years ago, I went on this sort of conquest to complete the gym, if you'd like. And I lost like 5 stone in weight. I was going to the gym twice a day, eating right and sort of living, at a decent level. And I thought, this is it. I'm fixed. I'm not broken no more. And then it came to around Christmas, and I was like, wow, where's this came from? And it was only then when I realized, you still need a lot of help, and you've still got a long way to go. And it's this year I've worked a lot on the mental aspect of life, I guess.
Yeah, especially because you mentioned a couple of things. I know how much you want to get into that when it comes to addictions. And addiction is a great thing. Like, I was addicted. I never said this actually in camera. I'm going to say it now. I was kind of addicted to gambling for some time, which seems like
I know
it's not a big thing. That's gambling. You're having fun. You spend some quid here and there. But that's not only that. There is more about being addicted to gambling, because it can capturing you from daily life. Like you start to
Mm.
not hang out with friends, not spending that quality time with the missus, and that's a big thing. And addiction is very, very dangerous. It doesn't matter. I mean, of course, there are addictions, but as a concept, it's a rabbit hole.
Yeah. I think addiction in itself, we all know the bad addictions, the alcohol abuse, the drug abuse, things like that. But even a good addiction can still,
Mm.
in some circumstances, be negative towards your life. If you're addicted to, let's say, going to the gym, and it completely takes over your life, that's going to have a strain on your home life, your
Yeah.
relationship with the missus and things like that. But as far as the addictions that I know, I was addicted to cocaine and alcohol for a long, long time. But when I say addicted, it wasn't a everyday reoccurring thing. So I'd live a sort of sense of normality for 3 or 4 days of the week, but then I would just a switch would happen, and I'd just lock myself away for a couple of days without going out the house and drink and take drugs, just to block out all the
Mhm.
the bad things that had happened. I struggled a lot with, and again, this addiction sort of walks hand in hand with trauma, I think.
Yeah.
Um, I struggled. I had some things happen to me when I was a kid. Certain types of abuse happened to me when I was a young boy. And yeah, I just don't think I learned to deal with those issues when I was, early teenager, sort of coming into the adult life. I had children when I was really young. I had children when I was 19 and 21. So I don't believe I taught myself the tools that I needed to live a successful adult life. There was always going to be some form of turmoil, simply because I hadn't fixed the broken parts of me from when I was a young boy. And I guess that's where, the addiction sort of comes in to stem those feelings, to stem the reality of struggling with certain traumas and things like that. You just want to block the world out, basically. You don't want to listen to what your brain's telling you. You want to block the world out and just say, do you know what? I've had enough. And unfortunately, more and more people are doing it. And more people are taking their own lives because of it.
Yeah, the other addiction that came to my mind now is one you discussed with one of your guests, the phone. It's like a modern addiction. And there was one of your guests saying, yeah, when you go for a shit, it feels like you are meditating. I find it very funny, but at the same time, very insightful. I think it was I don't remember who was this, but that was absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I do it. I do it myself. My missus, she'll tell you, I'll go for a shower. I'll turn the shower on, and I'll sit on the toilet for 30 minutes, play, on my phone. Yeah, the phone. It is. It's, as much as we laugh about it, social media and phones and things like that has become massively addictive. You look at some of the bullshit that's put on Instagram and things like that now, and just for likes, and it's like, wow. Me and my missus, we were actually watching YouTube the other night, and I put a clip on YouTube of the most cringiest TikTok videos, and you're like, how? To me, I'm nearly 40. It's it's a mental health problem. I really believe that. Some of the things you see on social media is just baffling.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, and the speed. It's not just the content; it's the speed that you can get access to. Like before, even like pornography, for instance, that's a big one as well. But for young boys, like Jordan Peterson said once that back in the days, like our parents would be able to see in their whole life, our fathers actually, the amount of naked women that we can see in a minute. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. That's not positive.
Mm. Again, I've had my issues with that, as probably the majority of men do.
Mm.
We think it's me and my missus have had conversations about it. I think things like that, it's definitely a negative influence, because it sort of, again, stems the reality of what it is to be with a woman, you're looking at something that is unreal. I guess it's not real, and it's had big effects on me and my relationship in the past. It's something that, again, part of my growth. I've got a lot of things to work on, and that's one of them, I guess.
Yeah. It's funny with pornography because, in one hand, it raises the standards of women that they need
Yeah.
to be in shape. On other, it degrades them to the level of, sorry for the language, of whores. So there is this dual aspect, which I think it's in one side is fascinating, but on other is very, very dangerous.
I think when you look at the root cause and deep down and what it does, it is degrading. There's no other word for it. That even though the women might be of a certain standard physically to look at, in reality, would that be somebody you'd want as your wife?
Yeah.
No is the answer. But yeah, I 100% agree. Young lads now, again, you mix pornography with social media and drugs, because every era has got their own drug epidemic, shall we say.
Yeah.
And this era of the young lads now is ketamine. You see a lot of people taking ketamine. And I know a couple of guys who are in their early 20s, 23, 24 years old, and they have to have is it a colostomy bag? Where you put it into your stomach, and
Yes.
you're for life, forever. And it's becoming more and more of a common theme. So I guess if you mix all of them together, the future's a dangerous place. And for me, I think I'm sort of at that age now where I can relate to the younger generation, my generation, and the older generation. I feel as though, I'm in a good position where I know what it's like to walk the streets and be a certain type of man. I know what it's like to get involved in the illegal activities of life and things like that. I've done all that. But I also know what it's like to work on yourself, become a better person, and enjoy life in a way that it should be enjoyed. So, yeah, that's my plan. That's what I want to do. I want to try and help as many people as I can.
Is that because you are? I'm same age as you. Okay, I'm 41, or more or less same age as you. Is it because you are in the so-called midlife stage? As you are like in the middle, say, like you can relate to young lads in their 20s because you are not that far from them, from an age perspective, and also from those who are, let's say, in their 50s, because you're also not that far from them. So you are like somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. So I'm 37. I'm 38 this August next year. So yeah, I guess because through COVID as well, because I felt alone, I was also with the younger generation just to be around people. I spend a lot of times with lads who are 24, 25, 26, drinking and, drug abuse and all that type of stuff. So, I've got I feel old, my body feels broken, but I've got a young brain.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah. I also saw in your podcast that you are writing a book. I don't know if it's finished or not. And one of the chapters was meant to be called Lost Boys. Do you want to tell the audience about it?
Yeah, so I've literally just got the chapters at the moment. I'm sort of focusing on the podcast. I spoke to a guy, he was from Ireland, David O'Donnell. He came on my podcast a couple of months ago, and he's just wrote a book. So he's sort of giving me some tips and tricks and ideas of how to start writing the book. But yeah, the first chapter was called The Lost Boys because I genuinely believe that our generation as men, including, like yourself, your ages, we're all the same age, similar. I feel as though humanity hasn't got a place for us anymore. You hear a lot about, especially on social media, that you see the clips of how we don't need men. You know,
Yeah.
the world doesn't need a man. And even opening a door for a female is classed as toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is fucking crazy, you know? And I genuinely believe that's the reason why a lot of men are killing themselves, because they don't understand why the world doesn't need them. I seen a clip on Instagram, and it was, I think they asked like 20 women, do we need men? And every single one of them said no. And I'm like, well, clearly for the reproduction aspect of life, we clearly do. But then, you know, who builds the cars, who builds the roads, who builds the houses, who cleans the sewers, the electricity, the bricklayer, everything. You know, men have a massive key part to play in the world, and so do women, you know. And I want to bring women onto my podcast to sort of bring light to their issues and what they need and the help that they need as well. But the question you asked was about the Lost Boys, and my answer is because I genuinely feel like the position for men in this world is slowly decreasing, and it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, and what can we do about that? Like we know the problem, and I think the way you diagnosed was excellent. But what can we do? Let's say from an individual perspective, because I don't really believe in, you know, political parties and things like that. I think it's more about getting together with the actual people, you know, with our friends of friends. So what would be your word of encouragement for someone to spread the word and make sure things change socially?
I think, excuse me, I think what, you know, these types of conversations, what you're doing, what I'm doing, highlight certain key aspects of what men are struggling with, and in turn, that will sort of bring out the character of the person watching the videos. So, say for instance, I don't know, I'll give you an example. I had a guy from Scotland call me a couple of weeks ago. He was very suicidal, wanted to kill himself, drinking a lot. He was actually a truck driver, and he was an alcoholic, so he was drinking as he was driving his truck. Very dangerous.
Jesus.
Well, he phoned me, and he said that he had to pull over while he was listening to my podcast because he started crying. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, hearing the likes of me and you now having this conversation, I think it gives men the ability and the freedom to express themselves just that little bit more. Because like we said before, you know, men don't want to speak. You ask a man if he's okay, and the answer you'll get is, yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'm all right. But deep down, they're fucking not, you know? So if you know, people like us can carry on doing what we're doing, and there's other people that are doing the same thing, and charities, some charities that are doing the same thing, you know, that can give men the opportunity to speak. And also, from my point of view, if I ask somebody if they're okay or if they're all right, I'm generally interested in if they are. You know, you'll hear a lot of people ask the question, "Are you okay?" But I guarantee you, if you turn around and said, "No, I'm not okay," they wouldn't give a shit what you were about to say. You know, they're asking if you're okay to be polite, but they don't really care. You know, there's a lot of people out there who say they do, but they don't. No, you know, there's a lot of, and rightly so, to a certain degree. People are focused more on their own life. I mean, you go to London or Manchester or any big city, and you'll see homeless people on the streets, and thousands of people walk past them every day. That to me shows you what sort of mindset that the everyday, you know, population has. You know, people are more interested in their own lives than other people's lives. So I think that barrier needs to be broken down somehow. I haven't got the answer. But yeah, it's a difficult question to ask, and I guess I've answered it as best as I could, really.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great starting point. One thing I did for a while, maybe for a year. I stopped, unfortunately. Every day I would text a different mate, just say,
Mm.
hey, how's it going? Or I
Yeah.
saw some article that maybe if was interested, so I shared and then ask, how are you? And I would
Yeah.
be available for that person on that day, regardless of what's happening in my life. So I'll be able to chat, say, for an hour if it was needed. I think it's a good practice. I will just choose a random guy. So Saturday I would contact John, Sunday Joseph, and so on and so forth. Like every day, just text a different person. I think
Yeah.
it's some effort, and people will be pleased just to hear from someone they didn't hear
Yeah.
for, I don't know, last last month or two or even more. And sometimes it's all they needed is someone reaching out to them with how are you? It can save someone's, maybe not someone's life, but at least someone's
I
day or
think
someone's
it can.
weekend.
I think it can save somebody's life. You know, sometimes it only takes one person to care for you and really help you learn and grow, and it will pull you out. You know, I've got a friend, he knows who he is. But at the time where I was at my lowest, where I was contemplating killing myself, you know, he was there. There's one or two friends there was. They were there to help me out of that dark place, you know. And I think without that help, I'd probably be in a very different situation now.
Yeah. In terms of projects, so you have the podcast, the book, like how people can find you, how can they sign up to watch your stuff, and what's your plans with the book? Can you just share, like, in terms of next steps, what is on the pipeline for you?
Yeah, so obviously I've got the podcast, which is the Zito Run podcast. A lot of people ask me what the name means because it's
Yeah,
a
I want
play.
to ask you that actually.
Yeah, so when I was looking for names for the podcast, and I looked on the Urban Dictionary under mental health, and I seen the word the Zito Run, and I thought, what does that mean? And the Zito Run means to often travel to an undesirable location under the influence of drugs or mental health.
Mm.
And I thought, you know what, that sounds like a pretty cool name for a podcast. So yeah, that's why I called it the Zito Run. The next steps for me is to just again keep growing the podcast. It's a new podcast. I've probably only done, I think I've done 12 episodes so far. I want to try and reach 25 because I seen a quote the other day, and it said a lot of podcasts don't get over 25 episodes. So if you do, you're in the top 5% in the world.
I
Yeah,
didn't know
so
that. Yeah.
no, I didn't know that. So my goal for now is just to get to 25. I've got some really good guests coming on, some of my friends, some people that I don't know, all different backgrounds, all different stories. For the book's sort of just going to stay where it is for now, because what I tend to do is if I give myself too many goals, I don't
Yeah.
do anything, you know, so I'll end up getting absolutely nothing done. As far as the podcast goes, I'd love to turn it into some form of non-charitable organization in the future. You know, I'm in contact with a couple of local councillors at the moment. I've spoke to one of the senior officers or senior advisors in North Wales Police. So yeah, I've got some plans. It's difficult doing it on my own at the moment, but as it grows, hopefully I can get some more help, and you know, people who know more about that sort of thing, about charities and stuff, can give me a little bit of help. And that's probably the plan for the next 2 years, I'd say.
Yeah, and I think it's very, very useful for people out there. I mean, I watched a few samples. I found them insightful, genuine. People are tangible, and that's what I think. That's the best about a podcast. You want to get a guest and the host that you can relate to, and that's
Yeah.
the main difference between podcasters and TV celebrities and all that crap. I think we are people, and others can feel it, and I think you do it very well. So I wish you, best of luck for that. I think you have the attitude, the knowledge, and the vision. So I think that these three together can lead you in the right direction. So, man, best of luck for that. Huh?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to put the link in the description for the audience. I have the impression I could stay with Lee for another 30 minutes, but we are all very busy this Sunday, both of us. Maybe there'll be another occasion for the two of us to sit.
Yeah, of course. If you ever do come over this way, if you ever come, through North Wales, drop me a message and we can sort something. Maybe we can do a podcast and speak about you.
Yeah, that would be excellent. That would be excellent. Yeah. For the audience, I want to say that there'll be another Movember talk on Tuesday. That will be the last one, since we are getting to the end of the month. This evening, we have another episode live at 8 p.m. Irish UK time. It won't be about the Movember topics, but more the generalist. So we have an American author who is very much into interfaith relationships and societies with a focus on Judaism. So if it's something we're into, I'll be back live at 8. And I hope I see everyone very soon. So take care, everybody, and talk to you soon. Bye.